Good morning, everyone. I am Heather Herring, the Education Manager of the Northeast Resource Recovery Association, and I want to warmly welcome you to our summer webinar series. Today we'll hear about refill, not landfill. Next slide, please. Do you need professional credits? You will receive 1 hour of professional development credit if you complete the survey and request it. Webinars are recorded and made available for those who registered. You can complete your learning with webinars all summer long, and visit our new website at nrrarecycles.org. Next slide, please. For our recycling facility operators, we have webinars throughout the summer to choose from and learn. You can register online. Next slide. For our educators, administrators, and community members, we have webinars to share. And although I list these on 2 different slides, all webinars are open to all. I want to set the table for GoToWebinar. You will not be able to be heard by the presenters or other participants on GoToWebinar. If you cannot hear the presenters, click on the audio and computer audio. If that does not work, try clicking on the phone call and follow the directions. We hope you ask questions and the presenters will answer them if time allows. Click on questions and keep it short. Next slide. Here's a bit about the Northeast Resource Recovery Association. We are a recycling nonprofit with over 400 members, primarily municipalities. We have we were started almost 4 years ago. Next slide. Well, what do? We do cooperative marketing and purchasing. We enable communities to manage their own recycling programs. We have 40 programs, including single stream and municipal solid waste. And we connect sellers of recyclables to purchasers. Next slide. We also provide education and technical assistance through workshops, facility tours, annual conferences, webinars like these, technical assistance, and school club programs. And now, next slide, I would like to introduce the presenters of Refill, Not Landfill, Marc Morgan, who is the Solid Waste Manager at the Lebanon, New Hampshire Recycling Center, and Emily Rogers, Member Education Manager of the Food Co-op store in Hanover, New Hampshire. Welcome, you two. And I'm now turning the presentation over to you.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Good morning or afternoon now. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're really excited to share our project, the Refill, Not Landfill campaign. I'm just going to go through these first few slides. So welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I want to introduce Marc Morgan. He's the Solid Waste Manager for the City of Lebanon, New Hampshire. Hey, Marc.
Good morning, or good afternoon. Thanks, Emily. And I'll introduce Emily. Emily is with the Co-op food stores and has been an excellent contributor to this campaign. Thanks. So part of the project has been our community. I'll just give a little background about Lebanon's part of the community. And the Lebanon facility serves 90,000 residents in the Upper Valley. And partnering with the co-op made a lot of sense since we have similar service areas.
We do. The co-op has about 7 locations in the Upper Valley across state lines, Vermont, New Hampshire. And we have about 42,000 members, all who live locally in the Upper Valley community where the City of Lebanon Solid Waste District lies.
And when we started this project, one of the things that we were looking at was, there's a huge emphasis on recycling. We're not suggesting that recycling is bad. However, recycling has allowed us to make poor choices. As you can see in the screen, there's an image of Poland Poland Spring water bottles. Now, water bottles are a great recyclable product and should be recycled. But is there a better choice? Is there something that we could do better? And that's what this project was really trying to ask the question is, instead of encouraging people to recycle, what if instead of using a Poland Spring water bottle, they carried a bottle instead?
And right now we're all dealing with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, what does reuse look like in COVID-19? We really want to promote that, studies have shown that reusable products are really unlikely to transmit COVID. The lifespan of the virus is small. While yes, it stays on surfaces, it's not actually the full live virus. And so, reusable is still an option. One of the things that we're dealing with now as a food store in New Hampshire is the question of, we have so many of our members and shoppers who want to be able to use reusable bags. Do they have to use paper or plastic right now? And while we can't have reusable bags in the store due to state of New Hampshire regulations, we're telling people no, keep your reusable bags in your car, refuse bags at checkout, put your items back in the cart, and you can load your own bags in your car. As long as bags are washed properly, reusable is safest.
So one of the things that we looked at for our reuse campaign was how do you reach the public? And this all started about 3 years ago during right before Earth Day, and just trying to come up with a different concept. And again, we looked at, do we do another encourage recycling program? But recycling creates waste all on its own. Production creates waste, consumption creates waste. So we decided to move up the solid waste hierarchy and focus on reuse. In year 2, we started to partner with the food co-op. So the city of Lebanon started working with the co-op, and they've been great. We purposefully did not create more cups or travel mugs or bottles for people, recognizing that, again, that's just more waste. The idea was, why not just make a sticker that could be placed on a travel mug or a water bottle? And the idea was to start conversations and try to get people to, ask questions like, hey, what do you mean refill, not landfill? What is that all about? And so in the Upper Valley, we started to see these stickers on people's travel mugs and water bottles. So the focus was very localized and, very grassroots.
So what we ended up doing when we joined and talking with Mark, the first year, the group had started just a pledge. People could take a pledge. And so we, as the co-op, joined in and helped to promote this pledge. What we're trying to do is get our community members to take a pledge in the month of April to make a small positive change, because we know once you do a behavior, if you repeat that behavior, it becomes a habit over time. So, we asked pledge participants to reuse a reusable coffee mug, bring a water bottle, use reusable grocery bags, or just packing a lunch from home during the month of April as much as possible. We wanted those small positive steps to encourage change. And that's really what that community social marketing is talking about change and then trying to get people to make a behavior change over and over and over.
And part of the idea too was to create something that was, like Emily said, was doable, and trying to build on people's success. There's a lot of programs out there that are, encouraging people to, for instance, eliminate plastic. And although that's wonderful, there were some who felt like they were failing at it. And this concept allowed people to make some daily decisions that had a greater impact. So for us, the project started with the City of Lebanon, and we created a web page on the city's website that highlighted local reuse options. In the Upper Valley, we're very fortunate to have a couple of dairy farms that reuse glass bottles. There's a local apple orchard that has a growler program for hard cider. And there's a few others that are, doing some really good work to encourage reuse. So the website allowed us to promote some of the work that was already being done. And then we also, it's a place where people can go and take the pledge. And again, it was just a simple pledge that we're not tracking anything, like, we're not being the refill police or anything. It was just a function of trying to get people engaged into a conversation. The campaign works well for us here in Lebanon because we actually have a landfill that folks can see. So within the Upper Valley, there are 22 communities that dispose of their waste at the Lebanon landfill. So it gave local residents and communities an opportunity to have a positive change locally. Yep.
And then what the co-op is, we want to incentivize people to make those behavior changes. So we just sponsored some gift bags full of reusable items that were handed out weekly as prizes. So people took the pledge, they entered their email, and then once a week, the team at the city did a randomizer and pulled an email winner, and we contacted them and gave them some prize packs. We had reusable containers and bags. We had reusable lunch gift set. So that way people could just keep up with that behavior, keep reusing.
It was nice working with the co-op from the city's perspective because the co-op had access to different audiences than the city did. And they had, Emily is excellent with marketing, which is something that, the city doesn't have, advertising experience. So partnering with the co-op kind of gave us a very different audience that we might not have been able to reach. So, it was nice to get the prize packages from the co-op, but it was also great to be able to tap into some of those resources that the co-op had that we just don't as a municipality.
And so we did the pledge for the month of April, and then Mark and I got together and we wanted to keep this going. 1 month wasn't long enough. We wanted to see what we could do next. And so we kind of came up with these 4 next steps that we were going to take and focus in on. Community conversation events where we invited people from our community to kind of talk about reuse and how we build a reusable community. Repair cafes, providing people opportunities to fix things and reduced our waste. Green shopping workshops that we helped do at the co-op to stop waste before it comes home. And then we had identified a waste reduction item program that we could do, which is reusable coffee cups. So what we first started was having community conversations. Mark and I got together, we invited all the pledge participants in to join us and sit down and kind of have these learning conversations. We just facilitated. We started out, identifying barriers, which was really important, and having conversations about where people were in their lives with reuse, and then giving them the opportunity to ask a lot of questions.
It was interesting too, because some of the barriers that were identified were not what we expected. So it was it was really helpful to hear what other people perceived as barriers, and then to be able to, having somebody from the co-op there to talk about, oh, here are the, food, health, and safety laws, and this is why. So it was able to at least explain and identify some of those barriers and how we might overcome them. And then, as Emily mentioned, we one item was repair cafes. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, these have been placed on hold. But again, one of the things that we really wanted to do was, as Emily mentioned a moment ago, about this concept of changing behavior patterns, to change habits, and then ultimately become ways of life, is to get people to rethink waste. Here at the solid waste facility, it's shocking how many bicycles come in that are in good condition and could easily be repaired and put back out for reuse. Yes, scrap metal recycling is a good option, but why not put a bicycle back out for repair and reuse? Last year, we actually sent about 30 bicycles back to a local homeless shelter to help some individuals in the area who had some transportation challenges. So we took an item that would have otherwise been recycled, removed it from the recycling stream, and put it back out into the community to improve somebody's life. Again, a huge impact locally. So these ideas just, are a bit empowering to people, but it helps move the needle in a very positive direction.
One of the other things that we did was really kind of starting to look at where waste comes from in our shopping experience at the co-op. And so we have a teaching kitchen in our Lebanon location, and it was really great. We have a food educator who really went through and kind of designed a whole class and workshop on providing tips on how you reduce waste in the shopping experience. And Mark, I know you were actually at the classes, so would you mind explaining what your process was?
So it was really a lot of fun. Again, the co-op was an excellent resource because they have right at one of their stores a teaching kitchen. So what we did is we invited people in from the public to come in and learn about what is green shopping. So Lindsay, the educator for this workshop, she created recipes for people to literally go into the store and shop for the recipes in a way that they thought would be a green way of shopping. And then they would come back with their items, and we'd go through those items and basically shame them because there are things that we think are green options, which are actually not. One of the things that we talked about quite a bit in green shopping was using concentrates. For instance, laundry detergent. Using concentrated laundry detergent helps reduce transportation footprints. So, we're doing things like beef bouillon cubes as opposed to beef broth. So it was really eye-opening for a lot of people to see just what are true green shopping options. So people seem to really appreciate it. I think we had 20 people attend that workshop, and it was again a very positive experience, and it was waste reduction on a larger scale.
And it really helped us at the co-op. What we're trying to do is help to build reuse into our consumers' shopping experience. And so doing this project and getting that feedback from customers about what worked for them and didn't work for them and how they're looking at their shopping experience was also helpful on our end, just as a cooperatively owned business. We want to help to provide people to be able to reuse as much as possible. And grocery industry is extremely wasteful. And so this little workshop was a way for us to also connect with our shoppers and learn more about what they're expecting for us. And the last program that came, that we started was a reusable coffee cup program. And one of the ways that we identified this is, like for the co-op alone, we go through about 100,000 disposable coffee cups in a year. And Mark, I know you can talk on how many you guys see at the landfill.
So because we received the waste from the surrounding area, we estimated approximately 20 tons of disposable coffee cups. Now we manage 35,000 to 40,000 tons of waste a year at our facility. So is 20 tons, really all that a big a deal? Well, it has an appearance, and it's become part of what people do. They head to work, stop at the store, and get their coffee cup, go to work and dispose of it. So it's kind of a ubiquitous waste product that seems to be okay with people. And this is another opportunity that we identified as how do you insert reuse into people's lives. And this option came about, and I'll let Emily explain the program, but just a little background on how we arrived at this as a project was a barrier to reuse, like for a travel mug, was I forgot my cup in the car and it's full of yesterday's coffee and it's got a little bit of yesterday's coffee and it's gross. So I'm not going to bring that into the store. So it was something that that it was in response to a barrier. So I'll let Emily explain how the program works.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mark's saying, reusable coffee cup, one of the program, people are already bringing travel mugs into our co-ops and we're seeing that, but adding a layer of convenience into reuse is actually how we can get more people to participate. And so how this program works, this program was actually brought to us by one of our members who's very involved in trying to reduce plastic in the Upper Valley. And sorry, I guess my mic is a little bit blurry. I hope you guys can hear me. Customers, all they have to do for this Husky Swap program, Husky Cup is a outside company, and they produce these molded plastic cups. Part of it uses the husks of a coffee cherry, so a waste product in the coffee program, and then they are a worldwide company. So participating cafes can sign up to be part of this Husky Swap program, and all they have to do is retail sell the cups, which was really actually exciting for us because we want a program like this to live outside of the co-op. And when we first started looking at how do we reduce disposable to-go coffee cups, we were thinking we'll start our own program. And that's great. We could have done that, but then it would be hard for that program to grow and live outside of our community. So instead, finding a program that's already worldwide where any cafe can participate in the program, all customers have to do is purchase a Husky cup. And then they can go in to any participating cafe and give a dirty cup to a barista, and a barista will make them a fresh cup of coffee in a sanitized cup and hand it back to them. And so for this project, we went out to other cafes in our community and found partners to join us. So the co-op food stores made a commitment that we were going to start this program. And then we went out and Lucky's Coffee Garage made a commitment that they were going to start this program. And then Jake's Coffee Company also made that same commitment. So we have some other community initiatives going on as well for waste. Lucky's Coffee Company, who started with us for the Husky Swap, they are really doing some interesting things. And I know, Mark, you've talked a lot with Deb about this, so I'd love if you could share a little more.
Sure. So one of the things that Deb is the owner of Jake's Coffee Garage, which is a former auto shop garage. That's why it's called Coffee Garage. And so what they did at Lucky's was they changed from, at one point they used to charge for, no, I'm sorry, they gave a reduced price on bringing your coffee cup in. So if you brought in a mug, instead of it costing $1.25, it costs you $1 to get a cup of coffee. I only wish it was that price. What Lucky's did was they flipped that around and said, okay, what we're going to do is if you come in and you want to get a disposable to-go cup, we're going to charge you for that disposable cup. So they added 25 cents to their coffee price, 2 disposable cups. So there was a base price for coffee, trying to encourage more reuse. The interesting thing was they noticed that they went from like 15 to 20% reusable, coffee cups coming in to more than 50% when they instituted the 25-cent disposable fee. So it was just interesting to see how that has an impact, for some of the choices that people were making. Instead of it being a positive, it becomes punitive for some folks. So it was interesting how that impacted people's choices. And Emily,
Yeah,
you guys have done some pretty cool things about phasing out plastic.
we did. Right about the same time that we started, along with the City of Lebanon for Refill, Not Landfill, the co-op actually decided to phase out our recyclable plastic bags. We gave ourselves a year, but then ended up really kind of pushing in the home stretch and phased out completely our plastic shopping bags in January of 2020. And really, we did this by promoting reuse. We didn't want people to switch to paper. We wanted people to switch to reusable bags. So that was a really great experience, and we had some great feedback from our community and a lot of support for people coming in and just saying how thankful they were that we were trying to eliminate plastic from their shopping experience.
And so some of the things that the co-op did that's noticeable as a shopper is when you enter the store, they have a sign right there at the door that says refill, not landfill. They've also asked their cashiers to, instead of asking, would you like paper or plastic, they ask, did you bring your reusable bags today? So some very subtle changes to the way that we interact with the public has a very positive impact on, and these don't cost much to change the way people respond to those choices.
So kind of what we have next. We completed the pilot of the Husky Swap program and we implemented it at our large food stores, Lucky's Coffee Garage and Jake's Coffee Company. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we have put a pause on that, but we are thinking of how we can restart that because, this is a great example of where reuse is actually sanitary. People are bringing in their cups and we can do a sanitary collection safely of the dirty disposable cups. And then our cashier, our cafe staff can hand them a clean, sanitized cup. So we are looking at ways that we can restart this program very shortly here at the co-op as well.
And moving forward, some of the other projects, or one particular project we've looked at, is something that a lot of folks refer to as green to go, using a similar program as the Husky Cup with to-go containers. Emily has mentioned, and a lot of food stores have seen the move or increase in sales associated with hot to-go dinners and lunches for families. That it's not just about frozen food, it's prepared, ready to eat food that people are coming and purchasing. So the idea is to replace that disposable, potentially recyclable product with a reusable to-go container. So that's one item that we're looking at as far as moving forward. And actually the Dartmouth College started a green to-go program on their campus for their students. So we have a local option, and it's interesting to see just how those things get rolled out.
Yep. And then we will also start planning for Refill Not Landfill in 2021 and ways that we can just move that needle forward, you know, trying to build that reusable community.
So as far as moving forward, for us, you know, the city of Lebanon started the program kind of on its own, and we had an interesting and fun first year, but it clearly took off when we partnered with the Co-op food store. So for anybody who wants to do this in their own community, I would encourage you to reach out to your local Co-op food store. They have, a mindset of wanting to reduce waste. They serve the community. The coffee cup program is an example of a cooperative venture, so it really fits within the local co-op business model. Although they're all called food co-ops, they're not always all connected. So it's important for you to just reach out to your local food co-op and see what might work for them. So it's very simple, and in many cases, the co-ops are always more than happy to work with folks.
Yeah, I mean, I know for us here at the co-op, we were really looking at ways, you know, we have goals in sustainability, and we were looking at ways that we can reach those goals, knowing that we can't do all these things on our own. And so finding a, municipality, a nonprofit organization, another independent business that has like-minded goals and values is super important to us, and that these people are willing to come together and work and really get involved in our community and trying to reach some goals and move things forward has been really important for us and really helpful for us in starting programs like this.
So measuring success is always tricky, especially with reuse programs, because it's not like you can say, oh, it's hard to measure something that didn't happen. You know, recycling is easy because you can look at what you collected and what you shipped to market. So for us, just counting pledges just meant, okay, here's some engagements. And so that's what we focused on was, how many times did we meet with people, or how many different social media interactions were there, and the community conversations, I think, were really exciting to get the community involved and just see how that went. And I know, Emily, you were at all of them. So what were some of your thoughts on the community conversations?
I mean, I think the community conversations were really, really helpful and kind of gave the opportunity for people to ask those questions and learn from each other. There was so much sharing that went on during them that it was amazing to see these people coming together around a topic that they're interested in, that they feel passionate about, and sharing resources, sharing knowledge. That was so exciting to be a part of.
So some other things some things that happen kind of tangentially, like you're saying, as far as, people sharing ideas, was to learn that, the local trails group had some yard tools and some saws and pickaxes and things that people could borrow. And then to learn about some sharing opportunities at the local library, that you could actually, here in Lebanon, you can take out a pressure washer. And as a result of this project, some local people got together and donated reusable event wear. So if you have a birthday party, instead of purchasing plastic cups and paper plates, you could go to the library and get a setting for 50 people of nice glasses and plates and utensils for an event at no charge. So there are really simple, low-cost options that could be inserted into your community that, these community conversations that Emily and I didn't come up with, they were just kind of sparked from conversations that other people had experience with.
Yeah. You know, and so we really took it as like each of these community conversations were an opportunity to engage with people, to learn from people, to discuss and practice reuse. And they moved us forward. And so we're really looking at now in a COVID world, how do we do this? And starting these again and doing them virtually as well. And how do we make them impactful for people?
So we don't necessarily have an answer to those questions because we're, Emily and I have been talking about this and how do you do this? Will be interesting to see how reuse does happen. But the idea of the Husky Cups, I think, is one response to how you do reuse in your community, or shared tools and items in your local library are great ways. We talked about the repair cafes and basically setting them up kind of like going to the barber shop where people set up appointments to meet with people to learn how to change a tire or fix the chain on your bike or things of that nature. So there are ways to certainly do it. It's a bit more challenging, but it's still worth doing for sure.
Definitely.
I see we have a question. Did you want to grab that question or do you want me to do it?
I can leap in. So the first question we have, thank you for this excellent presentation. We have a question coming in. I would love to see this campaign expanded to include more co-op food stores like the Concord Co-op. How can participants help advance this initiative beyond the Lebanon area?
So it's really just reaching out to the co-op. I mean, that's what we did. We had some really, I had some good friends at the co-op. Emily has become a good friend, and we've worked on a number of projects together outside of this. And we've done some river cleanup projects. I've done that with her husband, who works locally, and it's just kind of spread out from there. So some of it is just simply reaching out to the local co-op.
Sure, relationship building.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, you should definitely reach out to, any kind of local business in your community that you think could work on something like this, because they just may not know people are interested and may just need a little help. I know for myself, working at a co-op and connecting, I've shared this within the co-op world, and we have had lots of questions and lots of co-ops get in contact with us. But they just may not know if, is their community interested? So I think reaching out is the best way to go forward.
Right. Another question we had come in was, how did the city and the co-op share the division of labor for this effort? For example, who tracked the success measurements?
So this was an interesting one. I don't know that there was a specific division of labor. I will say that a lot of the outreach or designing of images and things of that nature, it just fell to the co-op because they had such great resources there. And to maintain privacy, emails and things of that nature, the city held on to that. So we housed the website just to create a kind of a layer of comfort so people wouldn't wonder, is my information going to be sold? Is this going to be used for other purposes? Am I going to get spammed? Which is obviously not the case, but the city ended up, just managing the personal information. And then, like Emily was talking about with the prize packages, we just used a randomizer through our IT department and made selections for winners and reached out to them from there. So.
Excellent. We have another question coming in. The current ban on using reusable bags and containers in New Hampshire is disappointing, especially since it doesn't seem to be supported by science. Are you aware of an effort to get that ban ended?
I am actually not aware of one, but I am really interested in either starting one or finding one.
Yeah, because
Mark?
Emily and I have talked about it is, like she mentioned, the co-op does encourage people to just reload their purchases in the cart and go out to your car and put them in your reusable bags. Just bag it out in your vehicle.
Right.
So, I mean, that is an option for people, but yeah, we've talked a lot about this, the concept of, banning reusable bags from grocery stores. It does not make a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah, and
so,
especially
go ahead.
reusable containers. We're thinking, we want people to use reusable containers in our bulk departments. If the cleanliness, the food safety and the cleanliness is the sticking point, how can we build systems to create sanitizing systems? So like we were talking about with prepared foods and reusable containers, can we do the same thing in bulk departments and create a washing service where people can get sanitized containers each time and bring us back dirty ones? So that's kind of what we're looking at moving forward to bring reuse back into our stores.
Right. I do know that milk bottles are now being accepted back at the store, so that's a reusable container. So,
Yeah,
all
we
right.
definitely would encourage milk bottles. There's some local yogurts that are made in glass containers too, and we can still take those and bring them back to the farms. So,
Right. All right. Are there any other questions coming in? It's the last I have. All right. Well, thank you so much for such an informative presentation. I really appreciated hearing about this local engaged pledge as opposed to policing people. Mark mentioned that it empowers people, the positive piece, but it also covered things like the economic incentives. If you add 25 cents to that coffee, then maybe that reusable option is a better deal. And it was great to hear about your, community conversations, workshops, and repair cafes, and the reusable coffee cup program. Really great to hear, and I hope some other folks are listening in or will tune in later that connect with their local co-ops. I wanted to thank our sponsors. If you could do the next slide, please. Thank our sponsors for the summer webinar series, Interstate Refrigerant Recovery, Schnitzer, and the USDA. And I want to remind everyone that a survey will launch immediately after this webinar. It'll also appear in your email one day later. As a reminder, we welcome feedback. And last slide, please. Next week, we will continue our summer webinar series with the lithium battery safety with Sean Plass of Call to Recycle. That'll be Wednesday, 9 a.m., July 15th. And then on Friday at noon to 1, we will hear a topic on reuse because you can't recycle the planet with Alex Eve, who is a reuse expert and documentarian. Well, thank you all, and thanks, and have a happy summer from NRRA.
Thank you.
thank you.